In this lesson, we'll preview our blog and learn more about the dashboard's role in editing our site. Up to this point, we've created our blog, we found other blogs to read and follow, but most of the stuff we've been doing has been related more to the user account we created on WordPress and not with the blog itself. So this kind of blue area is more of your user settings, more of your general WordPress settings themselves. So the last thing I want to do in this area is come up here to our profile icon, this little gray guy, and come down here to our settings. If we click on this first option, it'll take us to our dashboard, which we'll get to in just a second. But the second option, there's just one thing I want to change. These are your account settings here. You can change your username, if you want to change your email address, things like that. This is important to know how to do. You can change your password, edit security, your public profile, which will show up when you're commenting on other blogs. But since I registered that custom domain, I want to delete this extra code in here, or this extra characters in here for my site address, because otherwise when I comment on other blogs, it'll show that kind of default site address it made for me, and I want to make sure I update that to the custom domain so it looks nice and clean. And it shows that custom one, not that one they created. So I'm just going to go ahead and save those changes. And let's actually now come and look at the blog itself. So far, we haven't even seen what our blog looks like. So under the second option in the navigation on the top left, you can come to My Sites. If you've created multiple blogs, they're going to show up in this My Sites area. And in fact, if you want to create multiple sites or blogs, you can do that under a single username just by coming down here and clicking to create another WordPress site, which will be basically the same process, but it's actually super easy. If I actually come to click on this, you can see it's as simple as adding that blog and address, naming it, and then clicking to create your free blog. So that's really cool there as well. If you want to test out multiple ideas or just have ideas for multiple blogs, you can manage them all directly in this main account overview type area. But to actually start to get to the place where we can make changes to our individual blog itself, we can come in here into My Sites area and start to manage it. So the first thing I want to do is preview our blog. So if I click on the site title, when I hover over this, you'll see it says we're going to visit our blog. So I'm going to click that, and you'll notice we go from like this blue navigation and this general account area to our specific site kind of administration screen. Now we get this black toolbar, which is going to allow us to manage our individual blog. And if we take a look at the design that's already in place here, you can see it's using just kind of a default theme. If you look down here on the bottom, you can see it's using the 2013 theme, which is one of the standard themes on WordPress. So when you created your blog along with me, or if you did do that, then you might see a little bit different one that's also just a very basic theme that they choose to help get you started. And we're not seeing any content here because we haven't added anything to our site. We just have basically our site title, and they'll give you one default additional page, an about page, which if we click on this, you'll see it's just an example page and there's nothing actually there yet unless we go in there and start to edit this. So if we actually wanted to make changes like the theme it uses and different things of that, we want to get to our dashboard to make those changes. And there's a couple different ways we can get to our dashboard. Up here, we can come here to this globe area, which is kind of our global options for our site, and click on this first option to take us to our dashboard. Or you can come up here under your username, and right here you'll have the different sites you own or manage, and you can go to that first option to get your dashboard there, which I think it's kind of confusing to do things over here. You can create a new post very quickly, look at comments, but under username, all of this is pretty repetitive with other options. So what I like to do is come over here to these global options, and we have all those same links or same options for our site here. So let's come to our first option for the dashboard. And this is going to take us to the main administration area for making changes to our site. We have all kinds of things we can do here. And this looks pretty overwhelming, so don't worry about memorizing what all this is at first, or even feeling super comfortable at first. The more you use it, the more familiar you'll get, and the less intimidating you'll see this really is. The main things you want to know here are how to add posts here in this post section, which is where you can come to manage all your content. You might want to come to your media library right underneath that, which is where you can upload and delete images that you've added, but you also have the ability to do that directly in your post. This is more of an overview or a management area for everything you've added. And then things like changing the appearance of your site, you'll do here as well. So I'm going to click back on this first option, the dashboard, and we'll go through the rest of these as we go through this course. So don't be too scared or intimidated by all this stuff that's here. What I want to focus on right now is this home area. This is the first thing it always takes you when you get to your dashboard on your site. There are a lot of different things going on here, but basically you just have these little white boxes and different little bits of information here. You can see what's hot on WordPress, view some information about your site at a glance. So for example, we can see we've added one page to our site. It adds that about page by default. We can see what theme we've chosen, and then different things like the amount of space we've used. There's another place here under Quick Draft. I had mine kind of collapsed here, so you could click that arrow to do that. You can quickly create a draft for a post. Maybe if you just want to, you have an idea and you want to jot it down here and save it to actually edit and make changes to later, you can do that really quickly here. View activity that's on our blog, which we don't have any yet, and then yet another option to view our site statistics down below. And since this is pretty overwhelming, I kind of find that I don't use this very much. So what I like to do is kind of collapse these and customize it in a way that works best for me. So I don't look at what's hot on WordPress right now very often, so I minimize that. And then I don't use the quick draft very often, so I minimize that as well. And you can actually drag and drop these areas around. So for example, if I want the what's hot to be over here at the bottom, I can certainly do that. You'll see these little dotted lines that kind of show you where you can drag and drop these areas. So I highly recommend, once you get more familiar, kind of customizing this and making this useful rather than a whole bunch of just stuff that's there when you come to your dashboard. So that's just a really quick overview. Don't get too bogged down with everything that's here. The main thing to note here is that the dashboard is where you come to make some of those big edits, all of the major changes to your site. Any administration task is going to be somewhere in this dashboard menu. So the first thing I want to do to our site is change the site title that we're using from the kind of default it gave me. So we'll learn how to do that in our next lesson when we dive into the general settings for our site.